appreciation
She
for
raised
that.
more money in the third quarter of 2019 than any other Democrat in the House, including the Speaker of the House.
So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has launched a PAC to rival the DCCC. Now, before I get to the details on this story, I want to share this part of it that broke last week. So this tweet went out. Scoop, AOC withholding $250,000 in dues from the Democratic Party in protest and building her own grassroots fundraising for progressives instead. AOC riles Dems by refusing to pay party dues, bankrolling colleagues' opponents. Like, what a way to write that headline. Obviously, it's a Fox News headline, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a CNN headline either, as we're going to get to CNN's take on this in a second. But AOC, quote, tweets this with a reply saying, "I give quite a bit to fellow Dems. We've fundraised over $300,000 for others, more than my dues, with over 50% going to swing seats. DCCC made clear that they will blacklist any organization that helps progressive candidates like me. I can choose not to fund that kind of exclusion." Yeah, so this, like, it's crazy how stories like this are not looked at objectively like they should be. You have the DCCC actively suppressing progressive primary challengers to congressional politicians. And what? They're surprised that AOC, who challenged an establishment Democrat to be able to win her seat and fight for actual people, they're surprised that she's not giving them, what, $250,000? Like, it's crazy. It shows you there's always this expectation that if you're in power, as the DCCC is in power within Congress, that everybody under that, every single Democratic politician has to fall in line behind what the DCCC wants to do. And the DCCC wants to, raise money from big donors and think that no one should have an issue with this. Even candidates who defeated politicians that were funded by big donors. Like, actually, when you look at this objectively, it makes total sense. Why the hell would AOC be trying to support the DCCC when they were actively fighting her stance on issues? So this is the obvious solution here. This is her PAC, Courage to Change. So let me zoom in here. It says, when community leaders, activists, and working class candidates try to run for office, organizations like the DCCC discourage them. These potential progressive leaders are asked, can you raise $300,000 from your friends and family? If not, don't bother trying. We're stuck in this situation because there has been a structural effort to keep people like Alexandria and people like you out of power. But today, that changes. Become a founding donor of Courage to Change and help us elect working class champions who have lived the hardships we seek to eliminate. People who have experienced racial, economic, environmental, and social injustice firsthand. And if you go to this page, you can donate, support the PAC here. When I cut this video for YouTube, I'll have a link to this below in the description box so you can check it out. And it makes total sense. Like, this right here, this is what happens. This is why you have politicians that are always in favor of the interests of wealthy donors and massive corporations, because the people that run for Congress are the people that are able to raise $300,000 from friends and family. Do you know anybody that would give you $300,000? Or are you able to have, enough people in your life where you could raise $300,000 from your well-connected friends and family? I mean, if you don't have well-connected people in your life, you're not going to be raising that money and running for Congress. So inherently, this is a system that benefits people who are already well-established, who already have it good, and are clearly unaware or unwilling to fight for people who are not in their situation. So having a PAC like this to support progressive candidates, I mean, it really only makes sense. And the other benefit of it here, before I get to the CNN clip, which I'm going to share in a second. So a PAC allows AOC to give more than the $2,000 that are generally, allowed to other candidates. So candidates like AOC can give only $2,000 a year from their campaign to other campaigns, and that's once a year. So PACs actually allow you to give $5,000 a cycle, so not per year, meaning that you can give $5,000 during the primary to a campaign, and then another $5,000 during the general election. So this actually puts progressives somewhat on a level playing field with the DCCC. Now, still, I imagine it's going to be tough for this PAC to raise as much money as the DCCC can from massive donors, because again, this PAC is relying on mostly small individual donors. But it's at least something. So this is the kind of help. I mean, when you see any analysis of 2018, the elections in 2018 from CNN or MSNBC, they say, well, all the moderate Democrats won their races, even though that's not even true. But they'll say that while completely ignoring people like Claire McCaskill and Heidi Heitkamp and others that lost their race. But they'll focus on that, saying, well, all the moderate Democrats won in 2018, so we got to run moderates. That's where all the money is. If you have a moderate candidate with 10 times more money than their primary progressive challenger, yeah, there's a good chance that the moderate candidate in that primary Democratic race is going to win. So obviously they're going to be a moderate candidate going up against a Republican, but it's because of the money behind them. Wins like AOC are few and far between because they don't have the financial backing that they need to compete with these massive campaigns. So this is why you need PACs like this to at least somewhat level the playing field. Now, before I get into the CNN clip, because they keep bringing up new points here, but the Washington Post reported that AOC's PAC raised more than $150,000 after 24 hours of fundraising. So that's pretty huge. It shows you that this PAC, while again may not be able to do as well as the DCCC can raise from big donors, they're still doing pretty well. Let me play you this questioning here. So you have CNN here. Look at the way they frame this, and this person they're talking to is Sherry Bustos, chair of the DCCC.
Is she good for the Democratic caucus in the House?
Look, she has a lot of followers. I have respect for her. She brings a new voice to Congress.
And I'm low on time. Is she good for the caucus?
Look, we've got members from all different spectrums. I respect her, and she brings a new voice, and I think that's always welcome.
It's interesting. I have the chairwoman of the DCCC, whose job it is to support incumbents, and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is one. And I'm asking you just a straightforward question. Is she good for the Democratic caucus in the House? She brings a voice. We have members from all different spectrums of the Democratic Party. Look, I come from a district that Donald Trump won. My politics are somewhat different than hers, but she brings a voice that's welcome, and I have great appreciation. She raised
for that.
more money in the third quarter of 2019 than any other Democrat in the House, including the Speaker of the House. She's given, as she counts, $300,000 to other incumbents, including some in swing districts. And I'm asking the chairwoman of the DCCC if this member, who's right now in the top 10 of House members raising money, if she's good for the caucus. And you can't give me a straight yes or no.
Yeah, look, I have respect for all 235 of the Democrats.
All right. So look at the framing on the questions here. Is AOC good for the Democratic caucus? If you're the press, you should be on the side of the people. You should be looking at these issues objectively from the perspective of what is the best for the most amount of people, which generally is the poor and the middle class. That is the most amount of people. Isn't the better question to ask here to the DCCC, is it good for voters to keep raising all this big donor money? Is that good for voters? Or is the AOC strategy better of fighting for actual people and raising small dollars from real people who want to see their lives improve? But no, the framing is because, part of it too is they want to create drama here. But the framing is, no, is AOC good for the caucus? Not, is the DCCC good for voters? So when looking at this story, again, it's always important to be able to separate a story like this from the way that the mainstream press reports on it. Because just looking at the objective facts here, the DCCC is actively suppressing progressive primary challengers, is actively suppressing groups that help progressives in general. AOC won her race because she challenged somebody who was part of the Democratic establishment. So why would she be helping the DCCC instead of trying to help the voters, which is her aim, help the voters, and help the voters through supporting progressive candidates and progressive primary challengers? Like, this is just what a good politician should be doing if you actually care about fighting for people.